Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that you're making it into our room. We are so excited to have you here. This is our INICIVOX Mentor SkillShare Promotion Edition. We're going to learn how to elevate your career. I see people starting to funnel in here. So give me a shout out in the chat. I would love to know where you're coming from, what city, what school even. Let me know. I'm Amy Summers. I am founder and president of INICIVOX and Pitch Publicity. I'll also be moderating our panel today. So let's get going because I want to introduce our mentor panelists and orient everyone to our session today. Our goal at INICIVOX is to equalize mentorship through virtual means, simplifying the process and connecting you with mentors. We remove barriers and create more access, delivering mentorship to accelerate your career development, regardless of your current stage. Our mentorship format is a win-win, providing you valuable insights for your immediate career growth and enabling mentors, like the ones we have here today, to reach a broader audience, unlike the less accessible one-on-one, let's grab coffee approach of the past. This session is going to be brief, so we're going to jump right in to introductions and your questions. As I introduce our panelists, please use the Q&A box to submit your questions, and please let me know who your question's for. Is it for Shia? Is it for Cameron? Is it for Bree? We'll be inviting some attendees on camera to ask their questions, but to be considered for this, please also add that you want to be on camera with your question. If you don't request this, then I will ask your question on your behalf, or you can also opt to just ask an anonymous question and I won't even mention your name. So there is that option there. So check that out in Q&A. And go ahead, if you have some questions, please go ahead and put them in Q&A and get that fired up so we're ready to go. So to ensure effective interaction with our mentors during this session, I really encourage you to request camera time when asking your questions. It gives you that connection with them, and this is a valuable networking opportunity for you, so I want you to have that. And when I invite you on stage, Zoom is going to prompt you to confirm your camera access. So you have to click confirm. You're going to wait for a few seconds without touching anything else on your screen. It's going to feel like you're leaving the Zoom room, but you're not. You're just going to join us on stage. Then once on stage, you have to turn on your video and your microphone, ask your question, and then after your question is addressed, I will automatically return you to the audience. You won't need to push any buttons. It'll just be a smooth transition back, okay? All right, so I see that we're already using the chat box here and we've got some people coming in. Hi, Salem. Hi, Maureen. Make sure you use that chat box to engage with your fellow attendees. Even our panelists are going to jump in there maybe occasionally and talk to you. But if you have any questions, please, please, please put that in the Q&A box because if you don't, I might miss your question and I don't want to miss any questions. Additionally, when you are in the chat, make sure you click to everyone so that we can keep our discussions public and everyone can see what you're asking or chatting about there. Okay, so I'm super excited. We're going to start introducing our panelists. And first up is Shia Thousand, a leadership strategist, executive coach, and an emotional intelligence expert who helps people lead with clarity, confidence, and resilience. As the founder of CT Wellness Co. and Restore Her, she brings more than a decade of experience from Accenture, Deloitte, Amazon, and Apple, where her human-centered leadership and wellness programs have strengthened culture, supported internal promotions, and advanced diversity and inclusion. Shia's work blends corporate experience with evidence-based strategies, making her a trusted partner for leaders and organizations looking to build healthier, high-performing teams. So I had the privilege of meeting Shia earlier this year at the WIN Leadership Summit, where we both spoke. And she shared such amazing, thoughtful advice. I immediately knew she'd be perfect for this panel. And I'm so excited to bring that same insight to all of you today. Welcome, Shaya.
Thank you for having me.
And I know that Maya is going to drop Shaya's LinkedIn into the chat box. So connect with these panelists today. Let's get ready. All right, next up, coming in from London, Cameron Trimble. Cameron is a proud Howard alum. So shout out to all the Bison in the room. Do we have any Bison here? Come on, you got to give Cameron a shout out if you are a Bison. Cameron is founder of Hip Politics and the CEO of Huge Strategies, bringing nearly 2 decades of experience shaping digital engagement and communications for the White House, US Congress, Fortune 500 brands, major cultural institutions, and national political campaigns. As President Biden's former director of digital engagement, he helped reimagine how the administration connects with the public, teaming up with top creators and cultural leaders to drive record-breaking online engagement. His career blends politics, media, culture, and strategy in a way that truly amplifies voices and expands opportunity. Now, you may recognize Cameron from our Elephant in the Room series on racism, where he joined our political panel back in 2020. And if you missed that, you can go on the INICIVOX platform and watch the full episode for free. But since then, I've been following Cameron's career through the White House, and I truly admire his work and everything that he's been doing. And I'm so excited that he has made the time for us today, all the way from London. So you couldn't have gone to coffee with Cameron today. He's in London. Like, this is valuable stuff here, folks. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Hopefully, happy to share with the audience.
All right. I feel like we're matching a little bit. Like we've got the whole we look like political, you and me, red and blue. That was not on purpose, you all. All right. So rounding out our panel today, we have Bree Groff, a workplace culture expert, author of Today Was Fun, a book about work. Seriously, and an advisor who helps organizations navigate change and build high-performing teams. Bree has guided leaders at Google, Microsoft, Calvin Klein, Target, Hilton, and more through complex transformations, helping teams stay grounded, connected, and effective, even in moments of uncertainty. As a senior advisor for SY Partners and former CEO of Nobel Collective, she blends strategic insight with real hands-on experience to help professionals communicate their value, grow their influence, and create meaningful visibility in their careers. Now, Bree and I share the same publisher, Page Two, and officially met at the Author Salon series in New York. And she has just released her book, and I'm going to be following right behind you next year, Bree. So I'm paying close
Yay.
attention to how great you're doing. But I've been really inspired by Bree's work. And I have to say, her audiobook is so much fun. You're going to learn a ton from Bree today. Welcome, Bree.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so I don't see any questions in the QA box, so someone has to start dropping some questions and help me out, help me out. But just to give you a little encouragement, I am going to give the first two people that come on camera today either a copy of Bree's book, your choice, or the audiobook, or the Kindle, however you want it. So if you need to brush your hair or, do something, put some clothes on, get ready, because first two questions on camera, get a copy of Today Was Fun. And today is going to be fun anyways.
Does
So
that count for us as panelists? Because I want to read Bree's book too.
Oh, I got you, Cameron.
Bree will have to help you out. All right. All right. So just to warm things up, I see some anonymous questions coming in. That's good. We're going to get to those. I need somebody that's going to be brave enough to be on camera. I think Cameron's word for us today before we came on stage was fearless. So I need someone who is fearless today. But we're just going to warm things up and ask an opening question. So this is going to be round robin. I'm going to start with you, Shaya, and this will be the same question for everybody. But what's one move in your first 90 days that can set you up for a future promotion?
I think I would say being an observer. The ability to observe the environment you're in, because it's new, and then who are all the key players in that environment. I think sometimes we jump in and we're like, we want to do the work so bad and we want to be so good at the work that we miss the observations that are very necessary in the first 90 days. And so I think that can be a game changer because it sets you up to talk to the right people for your next versus connecting with the wrong people who you assume have power versus the people who actually have power. Like the gatekeepers are always everyone's assistant, and people dismiss the assistants. No one talks to the assistants, no one gets the assistant coffee. Well, the assistant has all the tea. The assistants know everyone's schedule. So even if someone doesn't have availability, the assistant can usually get you in at a time that no one's even thinking about talking to that person. So the observations are key in the first 90 days.
I love that. That's a great tip. Cameron, what's the one move in your first 90 days that can set you up for a future promotion?
I would say the one move that sets you up for that future promotion is 2 ears, one mouth. It will. She said to listen, but I would also I will double tap on what Shia said, but I would also say not just staying late for late's sake or not just staying behind after meetings for meeting's sake, but being intentional with your time and being very visible with your time. I think there are office settings and these are all very different, especially with so many people at hybrid and at work. So it's not like if I'm hybrid and I'm remote, it's hard to stay after for a meeting and show that, hey, I have questions and so forth because you're on a Zoom. But being intentional about following up with smart and intelligent questions, being intentional about ensuring that you're hitting things on time, you're early with whatever it is that you're assigned to do or potentially have to do. You don't have to do so much that you're just, hey, I'm eager Eddie and I'm just doing too much and now it seems like you're trying too hard. But there is something about making sure things are timely or a little bit early and making sure there's intention, and especially if you are in person in those 90 days, making sure people are visible and visibly see you at your work. You doing work in a corner, you going off home and leaving early to do your work does not help you. People need to gain that trust, and visualizing you is one of the easiest ways and quickest ways for people to gain trust with you and the work product you do bring.
All right, get visible. I like it, Karen. Bree, what's one move in your first 90 days that can set you up for a future promotion?
So I would first go to the person who's responsible for a future promotion, probably your boss, and humanize them to yourself. A lot of times we start in a new job and we think, oh, the boss, it's so scary. I have to show up, it's so buttoned up. They are like this sort of othered, fancy being in your life. I think the best thing that you can do is just get a little curious about who they are as a person. Most people are happy to share a little. You don't have to go prying. This is not like a TMI situation, but just some basics. Like, where in the world do they live? If it feels safe, like who's in their family? Like, if it's nice to know if they have kids or not, or if they have pets. I clearly have a cat, so now you know that about me. It can be helpful too. It's definitely fair game just to say, hey, what was your journey to this organization? To learn a little bit about their background. What it does is it makes them feel that you're interested in them, which then in turn makes them feel interested in you. And then secondly, it helps you to sort of decrease some of the barriers to in the future talking about scary things, promotions, raises, because now you know they have a cat named Fluffy, right? They're a little less intimidating than if you treat them only as this professional entity.
All right, I love that. Spark that connection right off the bat. All right, we have a question. So I'm going to bring Giovanna up to the stage to ask question. I'm not sure who this one is for. And then Salem, you're going to be up next. So get ready. Hi.
Hi, my
Oh,
name's
I see that
Giovanna.
in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a senior sports management major, mathematics minor from Howard. And my question can be directed at any of the panelists here. What is one mistake early career professionals make that you wish more people avoided?
Can I answer? My biggest one is not having boundaries. I think that's a very big opportunity because I think sometimes we're so eager to do the job and do it well that we say yes to everything. We'll stay late. We'll do things we're not capable of doing. And then we suffer with imposter syndrome on the back end, but we didn't set ourselves up for success. And so the lack of boundaries early in your career can lead to burnout. It can lead to you just going along with the flow of things sometimes that may not be actually for you. So I think having some sort of boundaries starting with that is a better setup for success in the long run.
I can jump in here as well. That works. I think a lot about the question, do do I want that prize? Meaning, have you ever gone to a carnival and spent like $20 on balloon darts and then you like didn't get it and you're like, here, have another $20 and you're like trying so hard to win the game and then you win and they give you a 5 foot teddy bear and you're like, I didn't, what do I do with this 5 foot teddy bear? Like I didn't want the prize at the end of the game. So to bring home the metaphor, I think early career is a time when people are assuming they want to win the game within their organization, which usually looks like I want to be the manager, then the senior manager, then the director, then the senior manager, um, or stay in this certain track. When sometimes you might look at your boss's job and be like, I don't want that job. That looks terrible. Or maybe you've invested a lot of time in one expertise or a function and think, I don't know if I want to be here a few years from now. And I think the sooner you can get clear on what prize do you want to win, like what role looks fun and interesting and engaging, and then go after that, you can save yourself so many years of climbing up a ladder that you actually didn't want to be on in the first place.
Good advice. Cameron, you want to round us out before we head on to our next?
Yes, uh, they actually both took pieces of what I wanted to say, so I would say a third that I often tell interns in early. This may sound extremely basic, but timeliness, ensuring things are written in a way with clarity, ensuring that things are spelled correctly. The basics of the basics in a professional setting when you're especially if you're early in your career coming right out of college as a senior, you're coming right out of college as a or out of grad school, you'd be surprised the basics that you interact with where people like, oh, I'm sorry, I have an excuse. I was a few minutes late here. Oh, I'm sorry, I was have a few minutes late here. Emails that are a little bit misspelled or didn't go through a proper spell check and things of that nature. The things you can control early before you even learn a skill set, before you even learn the process of the building, before you even learn the people, the things you can ultimately control that project, hey, attention to detail, how serious you take the role, how not just appreciative but eager and to excel. If I can't, I've got to be able to at least expect you to do the basics of the basics coming into roles. And it just sounds so it sounds basic, but there are so many people who will take the literally 2 minutes late on a Zoom. I'm not saying it can never happen, but if it happens once a week, happens once every other week, now in my mind you're late. You're a little less dependable. If I read emails or I read work product from you that has a little one too many mistakes, grammatical errors, spelling errors, things of that nature, now that's dinging away on something that is going to be deep seated early. And you're right, patterns tell a story that is deep seated early. That is actually, you'd be surprised how hard it is for you to overcome in people's mind 2, 4, 5, 7 years later. They're going to think of you as a late person just because for a few months you were constantly late to Zooms or meetings. So, those early things you can control, control them.
That's good. Giovanni, thank you so much. I'm going to send you back, and Salem is already queued up here. So, Salem, who's your question for? I didn't know
Hi.
what your question was or who it was for. You're being mysterious.
Yeah, I think this is kind of for everybody. The reason I didn't write it out because it requires some context. So basically, I was recently working 3 years as a professional fundraiser in the Archdiocese of New York, but now I've transitioned to a role both as a full-time missionary for a company called the Emmaus Journey, but also I have a hand in kind of building the culture of the organization, especially as in the future as a some of my work will include being a corporate development associate. But my question, and I really love Giovanna's question, and I thought it was helpful, um, because mine is kind of the reverse in that I'm coming into an organization that, as a mission organization, is more or less a startup. And so my bosses, the people who had me on, um, they brought me in to also help build for the future. So I'm serving locally as a missionary, but I'm also building the national brand and like where we're heading directionally. So my question is more of it has a few folds. One, kind of what is that balance with my superiors, like my boss, my president and vice president, who really trust me, but also like still acknowledging like, yeah, they have an authority and a presence that I need to respect. But so like what is that balance of kind of the authority power balance, but also being direct and honest about what I'm observing and what we're building toward. Um, and then two, when I'm support raising my salary, so I have to fundraise my own salary. What does the balance look like between, hey, we're working toward this as an organization, but this is what I'm doing locally. So kind of that balance of like presenting for the whole organization, but also I'm also representing myself in what I'm inviting people to support and be a part of. So no, that's a loaded question, but yeah, I feel like there's some practicals there that could be helpful for everyone. Um,
Shaya, you want to go first?
Sure. I think that especially in the work you're doing, a lot of mission-centered work, it requires even more so that stressing of boundaries because it's easy to burn out because everyone's so focused on the mission that they get lost in the mission at times. So that's one piece of it. I think the balance is when you think about the focus of, yes, you're fundraising for your salary, but you're fundraising for the organization, that should always be the focus. You're fundraising for the organization. Your salary is going to be a byproduct of the fundraising for the organization. It shouldn't be the forefront because that changes your motivation and how you communicate and connect with people. And we don't realize, but we also communicate in spirit. And so your spirit is going to put that out there before you even open your mouth if it's really about you versus the mission. And so I would encourage you to lead with the mission always and let that be your guiding force because you're there for a reason. You chose to be a part of this for a reason, and the mission was what that really was. So your fundraising and salary aspects, they will be byproducts across the board always, but they should never be the leading initiative that you engage in conversation with. And as it relates to like your superiors, I think Bree touched on it really well. Getting to know them helps level it out and balance that. And I think sometimes, to Bree's point, we get caught up in putting these people on pedestals, but they're still individuals. And so sometimes you got to kind of knock it down for yourself, who they are and what their role is, even in the corporate space, and humanizing them. So I think the more you humanize them and lead with the mission, that'll help level it out for you personally and not have people on a pedestal so you can still get the work done and leading with the mission first of mind always.
That was so good. I feel like mic drop is in order. That was so good,
Yeah.
Shaya. Anyone want to add
Yeah.
to that before I bring on our next attendee? Anyone want to
No.
top
She
Shaya?
touched on all that. She touched
I mean, I don't
all
know
the
how you can
things
top
there.
that.
You
Salem, that is some
well-rounded
thank
that.
wise
you.
advice there.
Yeah, can I ask one more like kind of additional with
Yeah.
that, with based on something she said? Is there ever a point, because I know you talked about boundaries, but like, is there ever a point where it's become too personal? Um, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yes. I think I would say especially in a time I'm going to only bring up my age in context of this question. So I'm 43. I'm an older millennial. I've seen a time where people who trained me were very shut up, put your head down, quiet, work really hard. You come up, and there was maybe no boundary in terms of how much time, energy, and effort you did. There's probably less interpersonal connection in that way. And then I've seen now as a manager, as a business owner, manager, a hirer of people for the last maybe at different levels in this decade, for the last decade at different levels of understanding where through social media, just um, through the general societal feeling of almost ability to share, ability to make sure we protect our peace, our mindset. We want to tell you everything. And there is, depending on the work culture and the place that you're at, that goes back to, I think Shaya mentioned earlier about listening and understanding who and what is in your organization. There's no need to say much more than is asked in those first 90 days, as much as you could listen to understand who might even be receptive to that. Even if it is on your heart to like, I just want to share, and you may be a more sharing person, you've got to still ultimately, I always tell people, we're here to work. I want work to be happy. I want work to be fulfilling, but there is a job at hand. People are paying you to deliver on a thing. Even if it is mission driven, this is still work. So I try, at least as a business owner for myself, I try to center there, but still leave with compassion and understanding. And there's definitely, we're going to get to know each other, and I want to care and invest in the people that I'm with. But the first day is not the day, or the first week is not the week I need to understand your entire backstory if there's no real context for that question or that understanding. I just need you focused on the job at hand. Because at the end of the day, it would be great to be my friend, but if we don't have any money and you haven't raised the money you need to keep the organization afloat and pay your bills, that was a really expensive get to know you session. So
I like that
that's
Really
what I
too.
good.
would say.
Thank
All
you
right,
guys.
all right, Salem, I'm going to send you back. Andrea has a question for Bree.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I'm a sophomore at Penn State studying public relations. And my question was, what is a challenge you faced when starting a new job, and what advice do you give to that?
Oh, a challenge that I faced. Um, when I started at, this was further into my career. When I started at SY Partners, I came in at a partner level. And I think at first I was very I was very aware of not jumping in too quickly with decisions or changes or my point of view. And as Shai said, like it's good to look around and take in the culture. That's really important at first, right? Because no one likes the person who comes in like a bull in a china shop, being like, "This is what I think," especially if you're coming in more junior. Um, and yet, I think I had trouble transitioning to then. When's the moment to start giving what you see, your point of view, your expertise, even if that expertise is still your earlier in your career? Because there's a point at which, and I heard a little bit in the last question as well, your boss actually does want you to have a point of view, like does want you to share what you're seeing, because your point of view will be different. There's a reason they hired you. And so I think at some point, whether that's the first 90 days, first few weeks, first few months, when you just start it saying things like, what I see is, or what I think we could do is, and if the idea flops or someone's like, shares a rebuttal, then it's fine. You let it go. But I do think it's important. And I think also like a really important pathway to a promotion is to start confidently yet with no ego, but yet confidently sharing ideas, perspective, points of view, because leaders many times themselves can feel insecure. Like, I don't know which way we're supposed to go. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing, team? A lot of leaders actually kind of crave that honesty and psychological safety. And so I think if you can start experimenting with that in, again, a low ego way, it really sets you up um, to rise in the organization and to be respected for your opinion.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for joining us. All right, we have Maureen. And Maureen, I think you have a general question for everybody.
I do. I am Maureen. Thank you all for being here. I've really appreciated all of the insights you've shared so far. It's been really helpful. On the topic of a raise, I just want to pick your brains about your opinions on what are the most important things to track when um, preparing to present to your boss or to have a conversation with your boss about a raise, and what are effective ways to present those accomplishments that you have had at your company?
Shai, you want to
Right.
start?
Yeah, I can start. I think honestly, track from day one. And I learned this I worked at a major organization, and everyone would always say it's like CYA or something. And I learned that if you track from day one, you don't have to worry about covering yourself because you know the work you've been doing. It's not about catching up, and it's not about covering yourself because there you will have some people throughout your career that they specialize in gotcha moments. We all just have those people. But if you're tracking from day one and you just keep a running log for yourself, and this is just to know like, hey, did I accomplish everything I wanted for myself this year? And did I accomplish everything that was asked for me this year? And not going into it to just be prepared for that conversation, but you're going in to be confident because I think knowledge builds the confidence. And when you have the knowledge base, you can approach the conversation from a less emotional point of view to factual. Like, this is what I've done, this is where I've been, this is how it impacted the bottom line of the organization. And especially when things around pilots, when you're early in your career, people love giving you like random pilots. If you excel at those pilots, you can become like the pilot specialist, right? And so that's, you want to lead with that. Like, I'm the pilot specialist. I've gotten five things that no one else wanted to do here. And I've crushed each and every one. And this is how I've crushed it. And it just changes the conversation because you're confident going into it versus almost like going in begging. Like, I kind of wanna sorta, I don't have the confidence, but I did a great job this year. And you don't know where you stand. When you're tracking from day one, you know where you stand and you walk into the conversation confidently.
I totally agree. Make sure you're tracking for day one because what I'm going to say and means you were also tracking for day one. So this is in support of that. Definitely tracking from day one and tracking against what your job description and or the next level above you. So it's sometimes promotions and rate financial raises are coming with promotions, coming with increased responsibility and things of that nature. So you're tracking both your roles and tracking the role above you. The other thing that I would say is that you're walking into is, and this goes back to some earlier we were talking about being aware of the organization, not just listening to the people, but understanding the culture of promotion. I think sometimes we have the glass doors and different sites and things that may give you peaks and insights now to pay levels and job culture, but there's nothing like working at a place and understanding what is their promotion cycle. Actually having, if you're at an organization that's big enough to have an HR department, having time specifically with HR or those folks to understand what the promotion cycle is. What earlier in your career, it may be every 24 months, every 18 months, every 36 months that they're like your job may be up for promotion. So, because what you don't want to do is just arbitrarily think, hey, I've worked here for a year, it's time for a raise. And this job may even explicitly somewhere in the handbook say, we only consider every 24 months or 18 months. Or it's unwritten rule where you might get it in a year, but if the last 10 people have only gotten raises and gotten promotions in the last 2 years, going back to, you better be tracking all the great things you did in that first year to be able to present with confidence. So I think this goes back to a better observation of the company and the environment you're in. And also don't be necessarily too discouraged because some places promote a little quicker, but this place you're at maybe have a better fit. So I think just understanding the culture of promotion and having a conversation with HR or with your manager to make sure you are on track for those things. And then, like I said, you're tracking from the beginning.
So I brought Dee Spears on. Hi, Dee. Because she had a similar question, but a little bit different. So can you ask your question to Bree? And Maureen, just hang on with us for a second because this is kind of similar to yours.
Hi, Bree. My name's Deja. I'm a senior at Temple University, and I was wondering what steps should you take to advocate for yourself when you feel overlooked for a promotion?
Such a good question. I think about it in the same way that I think of feedback cycles. So often the least fun way to do feedback is when you get it once a year, right? And you're like, well, that's fine, but like for the whole year, I could have been growing and learning. I think about it in the same way. Like, so instead of like holding all of your winnings, and like I agree, like track your wins. This is amazing for your confidence and to be able to document it. But instead of thinking of it as I'm going to like hold my tongue and then at some meeting I'm going to come out with all my ammunition of all the great things I did, I would say, what are the regular cadences, the one-on-ones that you have with your boss, where you can be sharing some wins in real time? And also asking them, I think at best, you don't want to be like, here's you and here's your boss, and you're fighting for a raise, and they're telling you, no, not yet. Like it makes it sort of oppositional, right? And then they're telling you you're not ready, and you're like, but ABC. Like at best, you're sort of in it together. And so I think if you can establish in your regular one-on-ones, here's what I'm learning. This was a huge win. Like your boss, hopefully, I think, wants to celebrate those wins with you because those are also wins for the organization and for the team. And I think that gives you opportunities to say, like, I'm really excited to grow in this skill, in this area. I'm excited to support the business in this way. What are some opportunities that I can do that? Can you help me find those? Which really, in some way, you're kind of asking, like, give me the opportunities that are going to lead to the promotion. But you want to frame it, of course, which is like truly underneath, like, I want to grow, I want to help the team and the business grow. So I think it's how can you treat those one-on-one moments with your boss? It's sort of in Jerry Maguire fashion, like help me help you, like help them get on your side to help you grow so that they feel invested and sort of up close and personal to all of your wins, such that when promotion cycles do happen, whenever that is in the company, they know, like they know all the good stuff that you've been doing along the way, and they've been helping you get there.
All
Does
right.
that help?
And homework, go watch Jerry Maguire if that
Oh
reference
my God, I have aged I'm
did
also
not
in my
land on you, but it's a good
40th.
one. It's a good one. You
Yeah,
guys should
I'm
definitely
sorry.
watch it. I'm
It felt
gonna
so natural to me, but
Okay,
I
thanks,
know what you meant.
Cameron. I'm also an elder millennial. Okay, yep.
I'm going to send Maureen back, and I'm going to send Dee back. I'm going to send you back. We have a question from Diego. And Diego, you had a really good question you want to ask everyone, and then I'm going to round us up with our final question coming after you.
Hi, yes, really quick, you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am a young professional in my career, and I've made the mistake when they've asked me, what are your salary expectations? I just give them a number. And I have found that I've always, before doing that, I've made that mistake before, but uh, I have found that it's better to ask, what are your market expectations for this role, right? My question for you guys is, what's a negotiation mistake that you guys have made that other people should avoid? Thank you.
Cameron's going first.
The setting is I'm trying to break six figures. It's that where I was in my career. I had already been in it for a little while. I felt I was emotional about it, and I had felt I'd been working a while, and I had a lot of friends who had reached over this just threshold of $100,000, even though in retrospect, it doesn't necessarily mean as much it was to the role. But I just was so bent on my next job has to make me over $100,000 that I just when a number was thrown at me that was a little over $100,000, I just took it without doing much research and just because I was emotionally attached to a number. And I think at different stages in your careers, I always tell people when I want to hire them, if I'm actually going out and looking for talent and there's people I want to work with, I literally say, "What's the number in your head right now?" Because I guarantee you, everybody that whether you just got out of college or there's a number in my head right now that if somebody came to me and said, "I want to buy your business," it's gone. You know what I mean? And that number can change and will evolve. It can be flexible, but it's just a natural human thing to think about a number per se. And it may not be a well thought, it may not be a strategic number, but it's a emotional number. I'm saying detach yourself from some of that emotional number at every stage of your career and do what you're saying in terms of market expectation, what is reasonable for the job, what do you need, and then I always say add 10 to 15% to that number. Whatever that number is that you think is reasonable at some, start a little higher. At no point did anyone who wants to hire you. Now, if you're 7 times higher, yes, maybe this person's a little delusional. I need to rethink hiring them. But if you're just a little bit over, they may bring you back down. But I say detach yourself from whatever emotional number you are early, middle, or later in your career. Make a more informed decision and then add 10 to 15% to the number that you come up with.
Good advice. Bree, negotiation mistakes. Have you made any?
Yeah, similar. I think um, my mom would always tell me growing up, let them tell you no. Don't say no to yourself. Like if they're gonna tell you, I'm sorry, we can't, that's out of our band, we can't pay that, that's not in the budget for, then fine. But don't take yourself out of the running by saying, I don't deserve it. Is it delusional or not humble or something? It's like whenever I'm negotiating, I have to get myself in a sort of delusional state. And I don't mean that literally because actually what I'm doing is that delusional to me is just regular confident. But it feels that way when it's you sometimes when you're like, I'm overshooting. But really, I think the difference too is you have to think about business money versus human money. Like your salary is human money. Like you're thinking if you can buy a box of strawberries for what, like now they cost like $9 or something. And you're like, oh, okay, like human money feels like a lot. To a business making millions, maybe billion, like asking for like a few thousand more is a drop in the bucket to them. And that frankly, they'll tell you no. Like companies don't have a problem telling you no if they can't hire. So go in as confident as you can. Obviously, as Cameron was saying, try and get a sense of the market. If you can do your research, ask around so that you're not 7 times higher. But ultimately, I think when I've gone in too soft or humble, especially when I was working in schools, in a place where it's supposed to be like all about the mission, you're not supposed to care about yourself. But I'm like, I have to pay for my cat food, like go in a little higher than you think you should. And then, what do they say? Shoot for the moon, you'll end among the stars, even though that's astronomically incorrect. But the idea still stands.
All right, Shaya, really quick a negotiating mistake before we wrap up with our final question.
Okay, so I my biggest thing is research. Know the market. Me being an HR person, I had to deal with this in a previous role and I loved it. It was actually fun for me because I'm an HR person and I knew the market. And so that research, when I was negotiating, I was able to say the market demands this. And they came back and said, no, the market doesn't. And I said, okay, well, let's test the market. And I actually wind up leaving the organization because I tested the market and the market proved to be exactly what the research showed. So when you are standing on research and even speaking, a part of that research is speaking to people who were previously in the role, Find them on LinkedIn. Have those conversations. Be willing to step out of the box because you might learn a little bit more, but like their background might have required them to get more money. And you don't want to go in asking for something that you don't even have the background for. And I have to say, that's something I see a lot right now in this generation. There's no resume, and everyone's like 75,000. Like, you don't even have a resume. Like, what are we talking about? So, you want to make sure you're not completely delusional, as was stated earlier, but the research is going to help change the game for you. And again, it's about the information, building the confidence so you can walk into the negotiation and actually know what you're talking about, but then also know what the company can pay. Seriously, you can kind of gauge that from looking at Glassdoor and things like that and having an idea of that, because sometimes if you are asking for something that's just out of, they're not even going to negotiate with you, period. That's going to take you out altogether.
Good advice. Great question, Diego. I'm going to send you back. All right, so we are running a little over time, but that's okay. We've got one final question. This has been such a great session, everybody. But my one final question, we're going to go around the room, just answer it as quickly and as soundbite as you can. But what's one mindset that helps accelerate careers that anyone can adopt today? I'm looking for a mindset, Bree.
Instead of thinking of getting a promotion as a yes or no binary, think of it as a when and how question. So you're not going in and saying, will you give me the promotion? Yes or no. You're saying, how can I get to the next step? What's it going to take? Can you help me get there? And then you've got a path.
Great. Cameron, what's one mindset that helps accelerate careers that anyone can adopt today?
I think the mindset, and this may sound simple, the mindset of extreme excellence. I think if you have to understand excellence, observe it, and try to mimic it and make it your own. We live in a world where a lot of mediocrity, a lot of maybe not a lot of goodness, but not excellence is there. And I am a firm believer that excellence, there's a reason why all these adages, the cream rises to the top. You mean things of those nature. If you have an excellence mindset at work, you will be on a path for acceleration. And if it's not in your organization, believe me, someone will notice that. Believe me, if you're doing the tracking, you'll be able to translate that to other places.
Love it. Cream rises to the top. Shia, bring us home. What's one mindset that helps accelerate careers that anyone can adopt today?
Growth and mind and promotion are not always the same. Seek the growth and not always the promotion, because there may be an opportunity that may not look like a promotion, but it's actually growth, and it may be better than the promotion you could have been seeking. So always seek the growth in every opportunity.
Thank you all so much. This has been so empowering, really. Please fill out a survey from our session today. Maya's going to drop it in the chat. And thank you for joining us. And we're going to take a little holiday break here, but we're going to be back on January 28th, same time, for another Mentor Skillshare session on the topic of how do I ace a virtual interview? So be sure to join us for that. And please stay connected to us on all the socials. And if you heard something today that you just know that someone in your world needs to hear, this is going to be on an INICIVOX platform starting tomorrow for free. So please go to INICIVOX.com. And Shia, Bree, Cameron, thank you so much for joining us today.